Good morning. John Gilkison here for the Aero Stealth channel. It is Wednesday, April 19th, and I wanted to shoot this video on the opportunity of charging opportunity. And we just took a 2,235 mile round trip to eastern Oklahoma and back to southern New Mexico. And of course I kept records all the way of my DC fast charging and my opportunity charging. And all that was routine enough, but I wanted to get into this idea that opportunity charging or destination charging at the end of the day is of critical importance for the cost efficiency and time efficiency of your trip. And I don't think enough emphasis has been put on this. Now, the federal government, of course, has recently came up with billions of dollars for building out more charging infrastructure, primarily DC fast charging, I take it. But I don't think you hear enough about this idea that, let's say you set off on a journey and you travel several hours, and at the end of the day you get to a motel. And if the motel did have destination charging, and we're just talking level 2 here, it would relieve you of one of your charging stops that you have to do at a DC fast charger, where you have to spend 30-40 minutes maybe waiting on your car to charge. You might go grab a bite to eat or go in a Walmart or shopping or whatever, but none of that's relevant. The fact is that during your day, your traveling day, you have a charging stop that prolongs your trip. And you're not driving while you're charging, of course. So, we did, as I said, 2,235 miles. We used Electrify America for 466 kilowatt hours. Francis Energy was 66 kilowatt hours. And my opportunity charging, which had nothing to do with motels, was 85 kilowatt hours. What happened was we went to visit my wife's daughters and our son-in-law's home, and I charged at their house for 3 or 4 hours, and then we went to a cabin which we had rented at the lake, and we were there for 3 days, and over the 3-day period we could charge there at level 1, only 120 volts, but still we got in a lot of cumulative time of charging there. My total cost for the whole trip was $183, and we used the total energy that we had to acquire for this trip was 617 kilowatt hours, and that's the equivalent of 18.3 gallons of gasoline. And we averaged just about 122 miles per gallon for the whole trip. And if you divide the cost by the gallons, our average cost per gallon was close to $10. It was $9.97 per gallon on average. So here, I'll show you that. This is the particulars. I have to see the screen to show this to you. There we go. So this was my data sheet here I worked up. That's just through April 10th. And then here's April 10th. through the 12th. Now what's important about this is that, so let's just say you have, let's just pick a day. First day, I had 3 stops. Okay, we were going to Amarillo. That was a long day. And in Amarillo, we had to charge. I ended up charging before I went to the motel. Simply because the charger was like 10 miles before you get to the motel. So those are decisions you have to make, of course. And I didn't want to, in the morning, have to drive back 10 miles and then cover another 10 miles to continue on my journey. So even though it was after sunset practically, we charged as a minimum amount. I think we took 29 kilowatt hours. However, if the motel would have had level 2 charging, I could have plugged in there and charged completely overnight, back to 100%. And so I would have saved that that time, which probably took me at least 30-40 minutes to charge, when you consider the stop and the finding the place and then the getting back out to get on the interstate and so forth. So so that would have eliminated 1 stop. And the other thing is this opportunity charging could be free. It could be at just local electrical rates. Let's say it was 15 cents a kilowatt hour even. So it would cut your cost in half for that charge or more. And so this is an important consideration. So you save time, 30 or 40 minutes. In 30 or 40 minutes, you can travel, let's say, 30, 40 miles. And then you could save $5 or $6 on the charge, or the whole charge. So we had 4 of these motel stays on the whole trip, and these 4 would have added up to a significant amount of time saved, like 3 hours, and would have saved us, let's say, $20. And also it amounts to about 20-30% of your total charging when you can opportunity charge at the end of each day of travel. And this could free up. If every car out there was doing this, obviously 20 or 30% of the DC fast charging wouldn't be needed. In other words, the DC fast charging infrastructure that was there would go further for more cars, other cars. And obviously also level 2 charging at your destination at these various motels and so forth would be cheaper to build out. There is quite a few level 2 chargers around. I can't detail exactly how many there are. I haven't looked it up, but there's not that many at motels, unfortunately. And destination charging needs to become a thing. And one of the other things we tested out on the trip was at my son-in-law's house and my daughter-in-law's house. I had my combiner box with me and my EVSE that comes with the car that only charges at 1.44 kilowatts. And this way we could hook up to 2 separate 120 volt circuits, and I was able to charge at 2.88 kilowatts. Now, I could have done it at the cabin we stayed at, but we had company there, and there was a lot of us in a small trailer-like house cabin, and there was only one GFI circuit outside which you couldn't use, and so I would have had to run 2 extension cords into the house, find 2 separate circuits. And you could imagine in a small space with several people and having two extension cords running across the floor to two different outlets, and then fishing out the front door, which you couldn't close, and so forth. It really was not a great idea. I could have done it, but I didn't. And so we just level 120 volt charge. But like I said, I could charge overnight all the time, and all the time the car was parked there, basically I was charging. So we picked up, all total, as I said, 85 kilowatt hours. But let's say we could pick up 32 kilowatt hours of charging at our destination charging. Well, that times 4 would have been another 120. So I would have more than doubled the amount of opportunity charging that I did, and I would have done the whole thing at a cheaper rate. Now, what this would do is, as I told you earlier, we paid almost $10 a gallon equivalent. And that's not bad. Let's say an electric car like ours is just three times more energy efficient than a gas car. So if you're paying $9 a gallon equivalent, well, essentially, because the car is 3 times more efficient, you're really only paying $3 a gallon. So now that's a bit more. We paid about 10, so that's $3.33 a gallon. And that's about the going rate for gasoline. So this is an important point. Now at home, when you're charging, level 2 charging, you're charging far cheaper than the price of a gallon gas equivalent. But on the highway, when you're DC fast charging, you can be paying more than the local equivalent for a gallon of gas. So this is not good, and destination charging could get this equation back down to where it belongs. You should be able to travel cheaper for the gallon equivalent of energy in an electric car than the cost for a gallon of gas. And so I see this as a way. So it's a win-win. I call it the opportunity of opportunity. Let's see here. The opportunity charging opportunity is the title of my blog, and I see it as a way to make our charging infrastructure dollars go further. If they would get more level 2 charging installed at motels and along these corridors, and that it would also relieve some of the pressure on DC fast charging along the highway. It would eliminate 20-30% of the stops needed for a person using this when they're traveling. So there you have it. We'll let you go here. That was the focus of this blog, and that's what kind of came out of this trip. And I know other people have talked about this before, and what I'm telling you is completely anecdotal, just had to do with my trip, but it's a little hard to generalize. Not everybody travels the same way, not everybody stays at motels, so forth. So take it for what it's worth, but I see this as an opportunity there that's not really being investigated. I'll give you, or utilized. The city of Las Cruces, for example, installed some level 2 charging. Well, they're just downtown, and it makes no sense. You'll level 2 charge in your garage overnight, you go in the house. But if you're at a public location somewhere along a street or something, you can plug in for 30-40 minutes maybe while you shop, but you're not going to get very much out of that. Let's say the thing delivers 7 kilowatts hours in 1 hour, and you only go into a store for 30 or 40 minutes. You've only picked up 5 or 6 kilowatt hours. And even if you got 4 miles of range per kilowatt hour, you've only picked up 20 miles of range. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not significant, and it's not something people are going to focus on. But on a trip, on the other hand, the ability to fully charge your car back to 100% while you're staying at your motel and you're sleeping overnight. That's a big coup when you're traveling. So I'll let you go. You all take care. Happy travels, and watch out for those electroline fumes. Bye-bye.